come to the bold analysis. I am so passionate about international relations. By the way, I'm actually taking my MA in that sector. So I looked at what exactly is happening in this country and the latest confusion in the whole arrangement, or rather preparation, for the visit of Iranian president in this country. And Dudu has made, it has turned out as a diplomatic gaffe. We've had this, and you know, some of us even raised questions that probably those who are in charge of William Ruto's diplomatic itinerary are either corrupt, intentionally, or maybe incompetent. But I don't want to take incompetent, because if it is incompetence, then this country has a pool of qualified people that can do that work. But because the president chose that he's going to do that work himself, there is no need of coming to say that that team is incompetent. I don't want to be that way. And so, Kenya and the Iranian governments agreed that President Ibrahim Raisi, who is the president of Iran, will be given a state visit in this country. And he was expected to have, to be in the country today. Not today, this is on, this was 11th, this Monday. Media invites were sent last night, on Sunday night, that at 9 a.m., the President William Ruto and Ibrahim Raisi are going to have, what? They're going to have a joint meeting, joint press briefing in the country. But we understand that only for Kenyans officials, you know, there are two types of visits. There is a state visit and there is official visit. So for example, if a minister from, South Sudan or South Africa comes to the country and is just on working on some MOUs with the government here, that is not a state visit. That is just an official visit. But when a president visits another country and the president is hosted by the president, it's actually a state visit. But there was a mix-up, because we understand that Kenyan officials downgraded it to an official visit due to certain reasons. The certain reasons is in quote and quote, under the circumstances, and the Iranian team cancelled that meeting. But we've then realized that it is going to be done on the other day. So the mystery around certain reasons has really shocked me. And I want us to move to that bit of the certain reasons. But before that, yes, I'm reminding about Sarah's fundraiser. We are finishing this Wednesday, finishing tomorrow. We supported this lady who suffered acute leukemia last year. And she's been in chemotherapy, for those who know very well. She's been in chemotherapy. She was in chemotherapy, supposed to be in chemotherapy for 3 years, but she's only made 1 year. So she passed on 26th June. And of course, because of the whole bill and the last expense and the welfare of the child, we decided to just do a 10 days fundraiser to support the family during this moment, and of course to offset part of this bill. That is why I've done the 100 shillings challenge there, and I'm so grateful for those who are turning up. Certain reasons. The rationale behind how it was downgraded is something that really is something. My quick assessment of this downgrading, changing it from the state visit to this one. One, I think there were some cost implications. And someone, you know, when it is state, when it is state, there is, in terms of courtesies, the the hospitality, the accommodation, maybe the parade, the military parade. There were a lot that are into it. But because of costs implications, because it is normally shared, it's a shared cost. Probably, I think the host country takes better part of the cost because they're the ones that are now inviting the country. But I understand there was an arrangement that to make host country to be the country that the visiting country to cover bills because so they can bring income to that country they are visiting. But I think that was still down in the reasons, in the corridors. Someone downgraded this visit so that he would take down the costs. And taking down the costs would border maybe reducing here and there, but then balancing the receipts. That would be number one. Number two, it to certain reasons could also mean that maybe there was a bone of contention in terms of what the country, the deals that were made. Did they have, had they agreed? Are they not? It is something that was there. But I've seen maybe the MOUs were not yet ready, and because the MOUs were not yet ready, that's why it was downgraded. But I have seen the ministry, I think Mutua, saying that the meeting, of course, is going to arrive tomorrow, that is on Tuesday, but the reason why he had not come is because MOUs were not ready. But to understand that the RAN officials actually cancelled it, probably because of that downgrading. Because before the president comes, there is an advance team. So already the Iranian administration, advance team, members of his advance team were already in this country. So in terms of preparations and what was done, or even his schedule, he was not happy with the way probably it was done. Because I've seen part of his schedule was to visit Jomo Kenyatta Museum. I'm waiting if President William Ruto is going to be with him there. Probably the Speaker of the National Assembly. If you look at on trade, it is actually agreed. If you look at the contacts between Kenya and Iran, Kenya is exporting sheep and meat, and also tea, and tea and onions. But Kenya is importing also some fresh fruits, like flowers. Not flowers, some fresh fruits and some other products from there. Now, what happened is that this meeting could not even happen. Remember, this president was supposed to visit Kenya, I think Zimbabwe, and there is another country, I think the Zimbabwe and another country. I think Uganda and Zimbabwe, if I'm not wrong. So, it is not yet really true. It is not really true, because if media invites were made, and even tents were erected in the State House for the luncheon to be hosted, then how else? How could that be? Why would it, that preparation, all of that preparation will be done if they had not agreed? And there was a crisis meeting until even Kenyan government decided that they are going to foot all the bills. So long as that meeting is held now, because they don't want, it was really a shame for the country. The experts were already raising questions on why such a high-profile meeting would actually be cancelled. Ruto and Saisia were supposed, the visiting president, was supposed to speak on trade, energy, agriculture, and technology. So, were we ready? I tend to think this way. Kenya was not ready for this. You know, for this in the sense that Ruto was just away the other day. I think Ruto came in the country, if not yesterday, so he was away during the Friday over the weekend. I think if he came in over the weekend. If he came back over the weekend. So in terms of what is being done, some of these things were just organized and just brought here without a clear conscience in terms of what is needed. The other thing I am seeing here is that you know, Kenya is the double dealer. When you hear Ruto speaking in France and the European nations, and his position on Russia, then you look at the relationship between Russia and Iran, it's also the Russian issue is also here. And I think there could have been a discussion on what exactly will be the position, their position on some of those developments in the international scene, probably the Russia war, and the position of Kenya in respect to that. That would have been there. Now, however, it exposed some gaps, and according to me, I want to divide these gaps into just some two gaps that I've seen. One is on coordination and cooperation. It exposes a gap that there seems to be little or no synergy between the State House, Ruto handlers, and Foreign Affairs Office. Maybe a bit strained. Because sometimes when there's some things that when happen, for example, such a visit, the nitty-gritties about cooperation is key, but it is a high-table delegation. However, for it to be cancelled at that moment, and the issue of downgrading from state visit to official visit is a decision that I tend to think is between those two offices, Ruto's diplomatic team and the Foreign Affairs. You know, the Foreign Affairs is on behalf of the country, but Ruto as a president also have a diplomatic team around him. I think he has even have some international advisors, on some international engagements. So that is something that you cannot underestimate. It exposes some synergy. I may not be wrong if someone would eavesdrop in a WhatsApp discussion between a team, because for such that is a project, that is something, that is a high profile delegation that they delegated some duties. You'll take care of probably hospitality, you'll organize with the military. So the heads of military are there because if it is a state visit, they're supposed to come and bring in the team for the parade, State House to organize maybe on the hospitality. So this is a whole coordination thing. But for it to lapse last minute, there might have been some lapses between the two. On trade, if indeed it is true that MOUs were not ready, and that is why that visit could not happen on Monday, then the question is, who is working on MOUs? That's the point. So some trade resolutions that we've been making, because the biggest need that Ruto was supposed to make, I think, is on the tea. But Kenya is exporting sheep. One of the sheep vendors in the country is former President Uhuru Kenyatta. So if it is about also the MOU, then it exposes a bit of our inability to crystallize our decisions, business-related decisions, especially on these diplomatic engagements. That's my mold. And thank you very much. Let's meet in the next podcast.